ADC gubernatorial candidate in the 2023 general elections, Funcho Doherty, also, laid out some concerns as regards, demolition of private properties in the bid to create this. So, Fuad, as regards compensation, can we trust the government to actually do the needful for these people?
Well, the extant laws on compensation is very clear, and this is not the first time that a project for variety public interest had necessitated the need to demolish people's property. Several projects in the past have led to people's properties being demolished, acquired for projects that are for a variety of public interest. Like I said, the laws are very clear. The law says compensation. And the rules of compensation again will be for those that have valid titles of their property. And I would assume that the owner of landmark who has put the entire cost of his fund at over $200 million would have all of the valid papers to build that particular project. Mr. Jᴏɪᴜ on TV yesterday was saying that it's not the coastline, it's the shoreline that will be affected if we need to stay standing. But again, you and I know that the reason why people go to the landmark, resort is not because of the beachfront. They want to stay at the beach and take some time out to relax and unwind. And if the beach is going to go, then what becomes of that project in itself? Even though there are still arguments after the fact that look, some of the buildings will still have to go because you can't have such a highway run through that entire stretch without affecting some of the buildings and all of that. So I think what should be discussed now with the owner of landmark should be how he was compensated. And it's not the only one. Again, there are a lot of properties that would have to go that is affected by that. I'm sure some other big centers and resort centers will also be affected on that stretch. But I think because the owner of landmark has been the one that has been most vocal, that's why there's so much focus on his own property. But I think what will just happen, if he has, I'm sure he has all of the fancy papers because the entire project is not that project. Without getting out of the
I know.
So I'm sure what he will be looking at now is to get himself compensated and then move on. Because again, if the beach front goes to time, I don't think anybody will really want to go there because of the beach. People go there because they think it's a beach.
Alright. Well, an environmental impact assessment valuation had been concluded on affected buildings, and what we have is that owners of shanties and illegal buildings would not be paid, of course, according to Mahi. Exactly. So the Federal Ministry of Works will pay compensation, but then they are not paying anything to those that are living in shanties, which means when you put up a building on a land that is not your own, then you are not entitled to compensation. So if your property is not approved, you are not entitled to full compensation. All right, but then moving away from that one now, let's look at the project funding itself, and said that the legacy projects will be delivered in 8 years and was being constructed with the use of concrete pavement on a 4-lane carriageway. That's what we have. So what we have in this report is that the contract was awarded on a counter funding basis and not a PPP. So that's the first red flag for me, when the interview was going on.
That's the first consistency.
Exactly.
Number one.
That's the first red flag. Okay, you want to quickly look at that?
Number one, Mr. Jᴏɪᴜ had announced this same project last year, saying it was going to be PPP.
As a PPP, yes, which was one of the posters that was raised by Alhaji Atiku Abubakar.
Like I said, if you want to see, because again, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar did not allow this to slide off. Yesterday, he released another statement and he called it highway to fraud.
Yes.
So,
we'll get
one of the questions, we'll get there. So, again, I just take your story and then maybe we balance it out with the Vanguard report, and then I can have my opinion completely.
What I'm basically going to do now, I have my papers now, I didn't have them earlier on, but what I'm going to do is just open all of them at once and let's just look through the story across all the papers.
And the questions raised by that.
Alright.
So when we have that, and then I give you my complete thoughts on this particular.
Okay, so explaining that the contract was awarded on a counter funding basis and not a PPP basis as widely claimed. Well, if we can get videos. But then also on the front page of Vanguard newspaper, it is the major headline: Lagos Calabar Coastal Road uproar over cost as federal government proposes 3,000 naira per toll gate. That's not even it. Cars are to pay 1,500, trucks are to pay 5,000 naira. That's coming from the Umahi.
And there will be two. There will be two on that stretch of Victor Island. There will be two tolls. Not the entire 700 kilometers.
In Lagos alone.
Yes, now.
Within Lagos alone.
Within those 700 kilometers. I will play.
So people who will be plying that route, especially public transports, you're traveling, they'll add that to your transport fare.
Wait. The Lekki Expressway that is not even as long as that. What was the initial plan? Because it was supposed to be 3 tolls before the residents of Gary have fought the second one. Like I said, don't let us. I don't want us to
Riders here says landmark resorts and jobs will be affected, property owners to be compensated. It's a highway to fraud and a waste, says Alhaji Atiku. Federal government not tired of inflicting pains on Nigerians, says Labour Party. Any toll above 300 naira is unacceptable.
And 3,000 standard.
That's coming from COP. Luxury bus operators kick, say passengers will have to bear the brunt. Road may become highway of exploitation and fraud, and that's coming from NLC, Nigeria Labour Congress. Cost must be recovered. Unwilling motorists should ply alternative routes, says APC.
It's for the big boys. You know, it's for the big boys. Standard. You can't afford it. Go and struggle on the Bad Express.
On Lagos Ibadan Expressway. Exactly. Alright, but there's a lot to do. So I'm going to be putting both papers, or both reports from both papers, out. But putting things together. Outrage has greeted the federal government's proposal to charge 3,000 naira on average per toll gate when the Lagos Calabar Coastal Road is completed. The Minister of Works confirmed the figure yesterday when he was on a televised program. And among those who have kicked against the move yesterday, presidential candidates of the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, the Labour Party, Coalition of United Political Parties, COP, the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, and transport operators, among others. He said, that's Dave Umahi said, and I quote, "Let me leave out the infrastructure along the corridor. Let me just concentrate on the tolls. And I put 50,000 vehicles and as an average pass on these tolls per day. I put 3,000 naira as an average cost. 3,000 naira because the cars would be like 1,500 and the big trucks could be like 5,000 naira. So he put an average. In 15 years, we make back the money." And he dismissed calls that the cost budgeted for the road was too high. According to him, there will be security at the toll gate and some facilities. And some facilities like filling stations, will also be on the toll. He said
they'll be run by private people or only by government.
So I was getting there because I also have some other relief activities here. I have restaurants, filling stations, parking lots.
It will be privately run. It's government going to run.
Thank you. So here we go. Here we are, and a lot of reactions to that particular statement. So I
like that of article. There are too many things to read there, but people cannot see what article was saying. That's it.
Okay. Let's quickly do that then. All right. Taking what Alhaji Atiku Abubakar said on page 32 of Vanguard newspaper, I have here Alhaji Atiku Abubakar condemned the federal government's claims that the road will tentatively cost 15.6 trillion naira, which he described as wasteful and a highway to fraud. And in a statement by his media aide, he also equally knocked Dave Umahi for altering the initial plan of the project. After Gilbert Chagore's High-Tech had been awarded the contract without any competitive bidding, he said, and I quote, "Umahi had announced that the project would be fully funded by High-Tech, and based on this, there was no competitive bidding." He, that's Umahi, then turned around to say that High-Tech would only raise just 6% of the money for the pilot phase. This marks of deceit. So according to this statement, which is of course reacting or responding to Dave Umahi's televised interview yesterday morning, we also said that where the minister also said the project would not be a PPP, but the government will be providing 15 to 30% counterpart financing. And so responding to this revelation, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar said The tentative cost is the equivalent of the total budget of all the 36 states of the Federation. He said, and I quote, "The total budget of all the 36 states of the Federation for 2024 stands at about 14 trillion naira. If you add the FCT to it, it will be about 15.9 trillion naira. This is scandalous. Well, still, they have already awarded the contract, but are still not sure of the level of the counterpart funding component of the federal government." Umahi had said in September 2023 that Gilbert Shagore's High-Tech had the money to construct the highway and that it would be a PPP. High-Tech was to build, operate and transfer back to government after years of tolling. It was reported by every media organization, including those owned by Tinubu. It was on the basis of this proposal that High-Tech was picked. Why did Umahi then turn around to claim that it was not a PPP, but that the government will pay 15 to 30%? Okay, and let's also put it into perspective, the fact that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar also noted that in the 2024 budget, the project was captured as Lagos Port Harcourt Coastal Highway and was put at the cost of 500 million naira. Although the National Assembly approved 500 million naira for this project, the Tinubu administration has already released 1.06 trillion naira. What? That is more than 200 times what is in the Appropriation Act.
You want me to quickly talk on that?
I'm beginning to suspect this double budget that we have.
On that one, yesterday, Minister Dave Umahi was asked whether High-Tech has been paid, and he said no, High-Tech has not been paid. The same minister, Wike Baloyi, when he was asked the same question some few weeks ago whether High-Tech has been paid, he said yes, High-Tech has been paid. You see the problem? Can you not see the problem?
So looking at all of this now,
the minister saying he doesn't know whether High-Tech has been paid or not.
Maybe he doesn't know.
Because on that basis alone, on that one, even if you don't analyze any other thing, the fact that the minister is so inconsistent on the simple matter whether High-Tech has been paid or not, shows that everything is shrouded in secrecy and fraud. Let us even every other thing. Let's even forget every other thing. How can the minister not know whether High-Tech has been paid or not? I'm telling you, they are recorded. It was recorded saying High-Tech has been paid. And yesterday was saying High-Tech has not been paid. And it is so even that consistently yesterday, the minister keeps talking about the negotiation of this contract and counterpart funding. How do you award a contract and start a job when you are still negotiating counterpart funding, Sandra? Because he said it consistently yesterday, and we are going to negotiate the counterpart funding, we are still talking, and the project has already been awarded. Sandra.
Which brings us back to the question on what were the metrics that were used before, awarding the contract to High-Tech.
Now, you can't say that they are still negotiating, they are still talking.
Yes.
It's almost show of anything. And yesterday, it was so smart by app, only not to come manner of unnecessary calculations and metrics and this and that. Look, I remember yesterday, we first kept asking you, is this a cost per kilometer? Do you know that the minister never calculated per kilometer? He kept talking about standard gauge. I'm not an engineer, but I know that when you want standard gauge road, it's for anyway, it's not for road. We use kilometer for road. So you are the minister that kept confusing everybody yesterday, was so inconsistent. Sandra.
Well, there's going to be a rail track on that road.
Are you aware that this figure doesn't even capture the road?
Yes, it doesn't. The 15
trillion. Part of the calculation.
It's not part of. Yes, it's not part of.
According to you, they've only left the road where the rail will pass. They don't even design the rail. It's not even part of this calculation.
All right. Well.
And now, Sandra, we have moved from what is called PPP for the first time. In my entire life, I've not heard about this one before. It was Dave Umahi that created this thing. And I've seen a lot of experts have said this never exists. But coming from the vocabulary and the books of Dave Umahi, that there's something called EPC plus F.
Yes. Oh, yes, I was getting there. Yes, sir.
All we have learned about PPP.
So we have, so just
so this one is engineering, procurement, construction plus funding.
According to him, he said there's a marked difference between PPP and EPC plus F. According to him, so EPC plus F, we all know what PPP is, which is private-public partnership. So EPC plus F is engineering, procurement, and construction plus finance. All right, and in this particular project, there will be a negotiated counterpart funding. So
we are still negotiating the counterpart funding, and the project has been awarded. Sandra, you should be just said that they are still going to negotiate counterpart funding. You said it consistently yesterday. How are you still negotiating counterpart funding for a project and it's already awarded?
That's already awarded.
Because again, yesterday I saw that our colleagues at the different TV stations, just keep it easy on him. I guess maybe it was a break they got. They took it easy on the minister. But look, you don't come out and look, that's, you know, he says you have a press conference, a what press conference stage. Our advice is on that. If you have something to say, you just avoid that press conference. Because yesterday's outfit was completely embarrassing. We need to say it again, Sandra. I'm in Lagos. I'm from the southwest. And so, if I'm going to be using that sentiment, it's a fantastic project. Nobody is questioning, you know, the quality of the project and what it's going to do to the economy of the state affected, or even Nigeria as a whole. Nobody is questioning. It's a mega project that every Nigerian should encourage and support. But look, whether we like it or not, we must not on that basis, on that sentiment, throw away the questions of accountability and transparency. Remember, Sandra, the money that will be deployed into this project are public funds. These are funds that belong to Nigeria. And you can't just filter public funds away because you think a project will benefit us. Again, for those that are celebrating already, see how much you are going to be paying to use that road. And then let us look at some critical questions. And like I said, one of the inconsistencies that the same day we might minister has said that this was going to be a PPP. In fact, he said it clearly that look, the contractor has the money. We are not paying them. They will go and look for the money to operate and transfer the project. He said it clearly. So at what point did he change his mind, Sandra? He now say the project will now be funded, whether counterpart funding or part funding, whatever, by government. That's number one. Number two, Sandra, the same minister gave his mind was asked a few weeks ago whether he had paid. I said, he said yes. And yesterday, the same question was asked him, I think on TV, and he said no. So the minister does not know whether ISEC has been paid or not. Number three, Sandra, the minister is still saying that the entire design of that project is not even complete. That the first phase had been designed initially by ISEC, and so they are lasting on that. He kept talking about the design from the NDDC and all of that. Sandra, how do you award a project? How do you start a project when even the design, a simple thing as a design of a road, has not been complete? Why the oil? If he's still saying that even the road has not been designed, sections of the road have not been designed, why the oil? You understand? To watch also the project. And then there's one other question they asked him yesterday. You know that Mr. Jᴏɪᴜ was actually denying that doesn't know that Mr. Jᴏɪᴜ AᴊɪԻbᴏ and his items has any relationship with the president. We have asked that question. As we know that ISEC and Mr. Jᴏɪᴜ AᴊɪԻbᴏ are very friends and business partners of the president. Mr. Jᴏɪᴜ said he doesn't know. That is a blatant lie.
What said that's a blatant lie. Please, you are listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. This is Trends in the Papers, but interestingly, the major headline across the two papers we have this morning is the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road, and we are looking at the statements from the Minister of Works, David Umahi, who was on a media round yesterday on some televised programs, and he said a lot, and of course the reactions of different stakeholders to this. We are looking at specifically the reaction or response of presidential candidate of the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Of course, there are other reactions here. I also have here APC scribe, that's National Secretary of the APC, Dr. Ajibola Basiru, justified plans to toll the highway and said those unwilling to pay the tolls should use alternative.
You see the bourgeoistic thinking you are talking about, Sandra. This is a road that part of it to be funded by public funds. The same public that is supposed to benefit from using the road, somebody is already saying that look, you can't pay for the road, go and use another road. Just imagine. And I need to buy that coming from Dr. Ajibola Basiru. Somebody I know very well. I was surprised that this kind of statement, the man is there in Osogbo talking all of these things because he's now the secretary of the APC. What then is the benefit of the people from government?
Looking at that particular insensitive statement, taking a cue from that.
Not bless you for using that word, Sandra. Very sensitive. Managing
Director Ife Transport, that's Chief Emeka Mama, said that 9 toll gates on that highway at 3,000 naira will total about 27,000 naira, and at the end of the day, and that's on a single trip. So at the end of the day, passengers would have to bear the cost. So we are still talking about electricity tariff, and the government is coming up with more charges for the masses. Why should the masses be made to suffer so much? That's according to Ife Sinachi, saying why should the government give the contract to Shagoro, who is a business partner of the president? Why can't they give it to Julius Berger, given its pedigree in construction in Nigeria? I think it's
Sandra, issue of pedigree again. Let's talk about pedigree, because the minister, and of course I've seen a lot of the megalomaniacs of government, appearing on TV saying, the first thing they do is to insult everybody. And when you see people starting a comment on a critical matter like this, it can do such, they have nothing to say. You know that yesterday, even Minister Jᴏɪᴜ disagreed with Mr. Bayo Onanuga. Bayo Onanuga has said that, look, what Atiku had raised about the project before was the rail, not even the road. And the minister yesterday agreed that, look, what Atiku had raised, a captured during Jonathan and Buhari, was actually the road. So you saw Mr. Bayo Onanuga, who had jumped into the matter without even understanding what was going on. He told everybody, even for the minister yesterday, to disagree with him. That's number one. Number two, the issue of capacity standard. This idea of thinking that ISEC is the only one that can do the job. Again, Sandra, nobody is questioning, because if what they are putting out there that, they said they are the ones that have the capacity, they have the track record to be able to do that kind of project when it comes to the road on the kind of that terrain and blah, 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 and all of that. So that is why they should be competitive bidding, Sandra. What bidding will do, competitive bidding, is to look at one, comparative cost advantage, because the different bidders are going to come with their own cost. Number two, competitive bidding will also expose your capacity to deliver on the job. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, when there's competitive bidding and ISEC comes out to be the contractor, we all know that yes, based on capacity, that's what you. People that brought the doctrine of competitive bidding are not stupid, standard. Is to engender the idea of transparency and accountability, and then on the issue of capacity, standard. ISEC was the company that took over the Lekki Expressway. After several years, have they been able to complete that road? The same item they are talking about. Lekki Expressway that ISEC took over. What has become of that road? And ISEC eventually complete that road. That was a road that even while construction was going on, ISEC was already collecting toll on that road. And that's why people always question that, look, how do you toll a road that you have not completed? So you need to use people's money to build the road. And that's the adult here now. People just think they are dumb. The people think they are just stupid.
Right.
The same road now they're taken over by the government. The Lekki Expressway that ISEC took over how many years ago, have they completed? If you are talking about capacity. And then you ask yourself again, because look, there are too many issues to raise. Like I said, it's a fantastic project, or can we be transparent for one? And then the minister kept talking yesterday, brought all manner of grammar. Now we are supposed to be dealing with engineering, procurement, construction, and funding. Just like you don't need to be fully using. Barista once said that look, when they want to bring their bubu yaya, they will come with all manner of calculations and evil. This is what we are saying. People matter, they bring all manner of confusion into it. We are now having EPC plus F standard. That's what we are now working with.
Well, as much as I would love to take other reactions from different stakeholders as regards this particular topic, we still have to look at other stories on the front pages of the papers. But then there's still a lot to talk about. I don't think this is the end of this. I think after today at the World Press Conference that Dave Umahi will be hosting, I think there's still a lot more to discuss.
If a minister goes to 3 TV stations and is still not able to answer all the critical questions, so will the World Press Conference answer anything? If you had an opportunity as a minister on a simple critical matter that was raised by Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and yet this is the result of what you have said: more confusion, inconsistency, blatant lie, insufficiency, and then what would the World Press Conference do, Governor? Tell me.
All right. Well, I really don't know at this point now, but it just keeps going on and on. I don't think we're going to get to the end of it or get the last of it. But then, still listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. Time check right now is 15 minutes past 8. So I'll just quickly run through some stories or reports on the front position in Dosun market, especially on Lagos. People build inside houses, on top of houses. They use penthouses. Yeah, do you know what penthouses? They are calling it.
Yeah, we have penthouses there. Why not? You don't have penthouses there.
Oh, why? Do you know a penthouse is supposed to be a luxury, apartment?
No. Who say our own is not luxurious? Have you been there? Why did you take you there?
That's why they are owning generator. And that's why they are fueling generator on their pen. It's okay.
And so what?
Just accept what is not. We don't have this kind of thing in Ogun State. We don't have things like that.
You guys don't have penthouses. You have penthouses.
We don't build houses on top of houses in Ogun State because we have.
We don't have the land mass. Sandra. Let's just we don't have that land. We don't have the luxury of empty land. Our land is precious to us, and so you must understand why we have to build and continue to build.
Do you know what China did? They build blocks of flats. They build blocks of flats. In a whole building, you can have up to 1,000 people living.
You know what, Sandra? I think our people on the island, especially when we say Lagos Island, now we're talking about Tʀᴇ and all of us.
Not VI.
I think at some point they would have to accept the need to regenerate that entire area, what you call urban regeneration. Because it's one conversation that our people on that island don't hear. Once in a while I've had to ask two of my uncles about the possibility of pulling down some of these buildings and building them in a form of partnership. When you have a developer arrangement partner, not the developer thing they are doing on Lagos Island, a proper urban regeneration of that entire area. But I don't think they are open to that conversation yet. But because of this kinds of disaster happen, very avoidable disaster. I think we'll eventually get to the point where we need to regenerate the entire Lagos Island. It's a complete mess. Like I said yesterday, it's a town planning failure. What has happened on Lagos Island is a complete town planning failure, and it cannot continue like that.
The stories on page 6 of the Punch newspaper I also have here on the front page of the Punch. Make Yoruba teaching language in Southwest schools, says Afenifere. What do you think, Fuad?
Well, I don't know about it. You can make Yoruba a compulsory subject.
It is already.
You understand? So just say you take Yoruba as a matter of but to not make it the subject to teach people, I think we're just around shooting the whole thing. If you want our children to get our culture going, get our language, and to make it a compulsory subject, and then find it. And I think there are also cultural issues that have been raised as far as education is concerned. I like the fact that they are days dedicated to our culture, our food and all of those kind of things. But we begin to now, so if we use Yoruba in the Southwest, we use Igbo, and then we use what? And then the job people will say also in dollar we use. We don't want to cause unnecessary confusion.
It's okay. Above the masthead of the Punch newspaper, we also have here Nigeria's oil production drops again, now 1.23 million barrels per day, says OPEC, as against our target, which is 1.7. I think about around February we had about 1.4. We were able to churn at about 1.4, and here we are now. It's going down, and we're about 1.2. So help us God.
All of it,
even with all the billions of naira that we spend on,
I know the implications of this, Sandra, on our budget, or on the 2024 appropriation bill. It means we are going to be looking at more deficit. That's just the reality, because a lot of the proposals to fund that budget, the optimism of funding the budget, is coming from where we are able to do with the oil sector. And if we are not able to produce enough, we are going to run into trouble. To run into trouble funding the budget, it means we are probably going to have to borrow more to fund the budget. That's number one. Number two, is that if we are not producing enough, and we have Dangote refinery that needs on the average 650,000 barrels of crude oil a day. If it's going to work to full capacity, we are promising Port Harcourt for April and still waiting. That's about 210,000 barrels of crude oil in a day that will be needed for that refinery. And then other refineries are also coming up. So it now means that we are still not going to be able to locally supply those refineries with crude oil if we are producing this low, 1.2 million barrels, Sandra. Whereas Saudi Arabia is doing about 8 million, 10 million barrels per day on a daily basis.
Alright. Oh, well, that's on page 20 of the Punch. We also have here law to terminate many cases at appeal court is coming, and that's coming from the Attorney General of the Federation. The story is on page 12. I think you can dig deeper into that. Finally, of the Punch, Sanu and Nasu berate minister over half pay promise. It's okay. And that is on page 12. Let's not forget that there's been a back and forth between the federal government and Sanu and Nasu as regards their situation from the no work no pay policy of the Buhari administration, where ASU is to get their own payment, but Sanu and Nasu is not to get, or the president had not given approval for their own payment, where they also went on strike some weeks ago. But now the minister said, okay, there'll be half pay, and now
why half pay? You pay as a full. Why you pay them half?
That's the question.
I know these two unions that was in shut down the university.
They are the major part of the university.
They are the ones that run the university, because the university is not just about lecture. There are other things that make up the tertiary institution, and I don't know why the government is dragging on this particular one. I know they will not take any out for anything. It's rather what you do is spend it, you pay you full, but I'm going to spread it out over a period of time. I think that makes it more sense. And you need to bring up the idea of half pay.
Alright, moving on now to the Guardian newspaper. This is the Mainland 98.3 FM. I have here hard times for addicts. Fresh concerns as youths get high on feces, nutmeg, illicit substances.
Why are you feeling your face? I'm not there with you. I can see that you are feeling your face. Why?
Feces? What? No feces.
Is it news to you? Are you just hearing that?
That's absolutely disgusting.
Really? Yes, that's disgusting, but that's what it is. That's what our youth are doing.
That's how bad it is. Because apparently the other one is now very expensive due to...
So they're now creating their own. That's why they call them science students. They now create their own. They're just coming up with different ideas just to get anything at all. There was one that even told me about laughing gas, Sandra. And I knew that, our chemistry students in the secondary school talk about laughing gas. And they now say they now use it to get high. The danger for me, or the fear for me for most of these that they say. Is that number one, a lot of them don't even listen to me, so they don't know what is going on in the country. Number two is that because they don't listen to me, they don't know that if anything happens to them, like any terminal illness or maybe any of their organs fail, we have a very fragile health institution infrastructure that cannot take care of them. So it's as good as they've been giving their death certificate if anything happens to them. Because you go into this thing, you overstretch your liver, overstretch your kidney, and anything happens to whether your liver or kidney with the fragile health infrastructure we have in the country. Who is going to take care of them? And to even get the best of medical attention in the country now, you have to pay children. A lot of these people are not even children of the rich. Even the children of the rich are struggling to take care of ailments like that. And then you continue to abuse. And these are guys that God has been very good to them. They are so healthy. Because they are young, the impact of what they are doing is not felt now. Because they are still in their 20s. So those organs are still strong to carry those things. But when they begin to approach their late 30s, 40s, and 50s, the reality of what they've done now will not come up. And then we'll do the 30 of them. It's so unfortunate, really. So they can't take those expensive ones. They are now resorted to manage TV. I even hear that even gone. That's
all right. Thank you very much. Well, it's the big story is on pages 4 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper. And finally, from the Guardian newspaper, I have here, Minister apologizes for jive on electricity consumption culture and cheap tariff. So the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, has apologized to Nigerians for saying that they keep freezers on for days due to
like Zambia. You like anyhow.
Forgive us. All right. So he said, and I quote: "Anything we have said that is considered offensive, we are sorry about that." Because he came under fire from many Nigerians, for his comment, which a lot of people considered offensive, when he told journalists, in Abuja, that Nigerians lack the culture of electricity consumption management because of cheap power supply. And he made the statement after the government had just recently announced, tariff increase for Band A consumers. Excuse me. However, he has expressed regret over his comment, saying it was never intended to insult the sensibilities of Nigerians in any way. It was a piece of innocent advice with regard to energy consumption management, which we believe will go a long way in reducing people's energy bills. And that advice was directed at those that we believe that because of the recent increase, will start enjoying 20 hours of power, every day. So people
are complaining.
Turn off your AC and manage.
I did do that in their own house. The minute I turn on your own freezer, I'm free. Although I apologize to forgive. I'm just coming from 30 days of fasting, so and one of the things we learned that is to forgive. So if the minister has begged for us that it's demanding that we forgive it. But again, Sandra, our Band A people are complaining. I have a number of them who have called to say that they are not getting 20 hours.
I've seen that actually. I've seen different reactions, or no, I've seen different statements as regards that, different stories, especially on X. People saying that my area is under Band A, but I'm not getting what I'm supposed to get. But then let's quickly run through what we have on the front page of Vanguard. It is still Mainland 98.3 FM. This is Trends in the Papers. Thank you to those who are with us on Facebook. Moving on now, we've already discussed the major headline on the front page of Vanguard, but let's just quickly look at Rivers State just for a minute there. Peter Odili, former governor of Rivers State, has declared Fubara leader of PDP in Rivers State. A very interesting one. Is this going to make any difference? Is it going to do anything as regards what's going on in Rivers State?
No, the battle line has been drawn, and basically the battle line has been drawn. Recently, Minister Wike, former governor of Rivers State, I said that we are falling apart with who was supposed to be his former benefactor, the first in this Fourth Republic, Mr. Peter Odili, who was the governor from 1999 to 2007 in Rivers State. Because Mr. Peter Odili was the first person that appointed him as a local government chairman, as a caretaker chairman of a local government. And people had thought that, look, he was going to have that political loyalty to him, who gave him the first platform, when it comes to politics, really, but Mr. Wike said, look, I respect him, but he has a different idea, have a different idea. And the reality is that Wike is only loyal to himself. That's just what he is. So I'm not shocked when Mr. Peter made that statement yesterday, telling the governor, you are now the leader of the state and the leader of the party. Take charge. And that's the reality. It's better for Mr. Fubara to understand that he's the governor and needs to take charge. The things they are demanding of him today, the Wike will never accept it. He didn't even accept it for himself. Wike ruled the way he wanted for himself. And now he wants to put it as governor. Because he bought phone for people. Who told him to buy phone? Who begged him to buy phone for? And these are some of the absurd things here from our politicians. For you to even come and say, when you invest, is that an investment? Is that a factory? So when you buy from people, what are you expecting to get back?
A political investment. Fraud. I mean, there's someone that also bought for 7 people, and you know, so it was a good investment. I just said somebody bought.
But you know that one did not come out politically to own up to buying for 7 people.
It's okay.
But we case I bought all of the funds in saying it. And if it's a political investment, so what do you get from that kind of political investment, Sandra? It's about the resources of the state.
That's right. Well, thank you very much, Said Fuad. We'll take a short break now, and then we'll be back by 8:40 for Mainland Focus, so you can join the conversation right here. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. You're listening to The Morning Express. We'll be right back.
Mainland 98.3 FM. Don't touch the dial. 98.3 FM. Don't touch the dial. Rock the time. Rock the groove. Music extravaganza, where the beat gets hotter. Mainland 98.3.
Yo, what's up?
Let's go. The sound of Lagos. Meals have a way of taking us on a journey, and when you add plenty of vegetables like a pho, ugu, and season with a rich taste of North seasoning cubes,